Being a new parent can have its challenges, and one of them means not getting enough sleep.
I'll say.
Now, when your baby cries in the middle of the night, is it best to let them cry it out or to comfort your little bundle of joy?
I guess it depends on your point of view, doesn't it?
Well, a new study may surprise you. It recommends letting most newborns soothe themselves back to sleep. Can you stand it?
It's pretty difficult. You know, your little baby, you're really connected to it. You want to be sure it's okay. And I can remember a story that you told me about Sean one time.
Oh,
It
my.
was just the reverse of all this.
Well, he was about 2. He wasn't an infant. He was about 2, and it was his nap time. And I'd had a friend come over for lunch, and we're trying to eat lunch, and he kept crying. And she said, "Do you think you should go check on him?" And I'm like, "No, I don't need to go
You
check
must
on
have
him.
read this article.
He just wants attention because he knows you're here and so forth, you know." So after a while, he kept crying, crying, crying. So I finally went in there, and he'd had a nosebleed,
Oh,
and there was
jeez.
blood everywhere, and I felt
So
so
bad.
guilty. In fact, I guess I still do.
Well, it just shows you there's two sides to every story. And it's not a bad idea. You know, the article that was published in Developmental Psychology in January of 2013 says when newborns awaken at night, let them self-soothe themselves. Well, they have sleep cycles, Vicki, that last about 90 minutes, just like all of us do through the most of the night. And sometimes they wake up a little bit and they kind of whimper a little. And maybe that's what they're talking about. And that I could see go back to sleep. In fact, that kind of comes natural, doesn't
But
it?
you know, when you're a new parent, you want to hold them.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember when I used to work in the premature nursery, I'd walk around and check their diapers, any excuse to wake them up and
Right.
touch them and change their
Right.
diapers. I even like to change their diapers
Oh,
just
wow.
to hold the little bundles of joy.
Well, when they studied this, they looked at 1,200 parents, and they talked to them about waking and what that meant and how often it was. So they checked them at 6 months and 15 months and 24 months and 36 months. And what they found at 6 months, about 66% of these kids were sleeping through the night, but that means 33% weren't. And so they suggested that you be patient because over time, this really goes away. And if they're still having problems at about 18 months, it means there's probably an issue that needs to be looked into that's probably deeper.
Well, one of the things that should be checked out, I think, is the mom, because sometimes when moms have been on certain medications like the SSRI antidepressants,
Right.
it'll make their baby irritable and wakeful at night and even kind of tremory.
Yeah. Well, they can actually get so that they don't sleep, and unless you're right there holding them. And it's a terrible thing. So the SSRI antidepressants are a big deal. Most of the problems I think that we see in babies like this are boys, of course, that have been breastfed, which is a surprise, but where the mom is depressed. And if the mom is depressed and she's pretty sensitive to the kid, that sets up the stage for this to happen.
And then they have a more difficult temperament and more irritable and that kind of thing. I think probably a good rule to follow is to put your baby to bed at a regular time every night and see if you can resist going in there, at least at the beginning, you know, when they're trying to fall asleep, because it's just the same thing like you said earlier with adults. Some adults have trouble falling asleep and going to sleep, going back to sleep after they wake up at night, maybe, you know, to go to the bathroom
Yeah,
or
this is
whatever.
like more of a normal thing, though, I think, for babies
Yeah.
that they do. So,
Well, especially premature babies because they're so tiny and their tummies are little and they need food more often in small amounts. So
well, so maybe the bottom line is use your common sense.
yeah.
If your baby's crying a lot and you can't figure it out, maybe there's something wrong. Maybe it's got colic or it's got some other kind of problem that needs to be investigated. But in general, I think that it is a good idea to have a little patience. And I'll have to tell you, for us men, that didn't come as a real difficult
Well, you
thing.
don't want to get mad at the baby for
No.
one thing.
No, you want to be patient and just see what happens.